Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello, hello. Mic check, hello. Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What was the final? I just tweeted it. I hate when I do that. Yep.
You got Andy on the camera. Good, Mr. Cage. I'm doing good.
We welcome you to downtown Oklahoma City and Thunder playoff postgame. Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals between Denver and OKC is in the books with the final score 125-93. The Thunder winning this series 4-3. As we welcome you back inside of Paycom Center, the scene for tonight's matchup, the two greatest words in sports, Game 7. Highly intense, highly competitive. This has been a series for the books. Highly competitive. These two teams just trading punches left and right. And today, the Thunder come out on top, advancing to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, you said it, Paris. What a series this was. What a test from a championship caliber team, a team that won the title 2 years ago, 3-time MVP, Nikola Jokic, his pick and roll partner, Jamal Murray, the pressure that they put on you. Salute to Aaron Gordon, who had to battle through a hamstring injury and gave it his absolute best shot in this game. I mean, this is the DNA of a championship caliber team in the Denver Nuggets, and they gave the Thunder every bit of a test, and OKC answered all those questions throughout this series. And look, it was not always fun to go through this series with the ups and downs that you often have to deal with in a playoff series, Paris. And for this team also experiencing, for the most part, their first Game 7. You know, Lou Dort and SGA played in one in the bubble, but not in front of fans. And for this team to have to go through that experience for the first time against a team as battle-tested as the Nuggets, to get off the kind of the slow start they did, to grind it down to a 5-point lead, and then do what this team has done all season long, which is hit you with an avalanche of defense that creates the offense on the other end, swell that lead to 14. They almost did this in Game 6, Paris.
Yep.
It felt like they were on the fringe of doing it in Game 6 when they took that 12-point lead. They couldn't close it out. They got it done here on this home floor. How about the fans today, by the way? Basically stood from the first quarter on.
There was not a point in this game where I did not where I had a clear view of the floor just because of how many people were standing up. The environment inside of this arena, absolutely electric. If you were in Dell City, if you were in Moore, I'm pretty sure you could hear all of the fans here inside of this building. But the avalanche started, Royce, at the end of that first quarter, the Thunder, they were down by 11 points, you remember, in that first quarter, and then they started to chip away, started to go on a run at the end of the first quarter, down by just 5 points, and then from that point on, it was all OKC.
I mean, it ended up so, and then it was 42-41 with 3:11 left, and then they outscored the Nuggets 27-5 to finish the second and then to start the third. So, but rewinding it back to your point, Paris, it was tight there for this young Thunder team. And you could see some of that pressure, maybe them feeling it in a Game 7. And you could see, again, just the experience of the Nuggets as they were executing at a high level to start that game. But again, it was the stacking of stops, turning Denver over, kind of the frenzied, chaotic defense that OKC can play and really put so much pressure on you. And look, Nikola Jokic only took 9 shots in this game, only got 1 3-point attempt off. Alex Caruso all over him, just
big time,
completely in his jersey the entire game. The swarming defense, again, this is what this Thunder team has done all season long to teams, and eventually they just wear you out, and that's what happened to the Nuggets today.
Yeah, I think ultimately the Thunder ended up outscoring Denver 37-7 in points off turnovers. You want to talk about winning on the margins? That was a massive one in this game. Alex Caruso had a lot to do with that. But the Thunder in this game, you could just tell they were locked in on that defensive game plan. And big props to AC for his energy on Nikola Jokic. But the Thunder's ability to generate those stops, but then translate it into points on the other end of the floor, that was a massive, massive margin to win in this game. 37-7?
I mean, that's not winning in the margins. That's like winning in the paragraphs. That's the body of the story right there. I mean, that is incredible defense. But like you mentioned, Alex Caruso, I mean, he's done so much throughout this postseason with what he did in the Memphis series, the versatility that he plays with, and it's just enabling the Thunder to play those different types of coverages and confuse the Nuggets. And it really looked like that they just couldn't quite solve what the Thunder were throwing at them. Obviously, the turnovers and the defense to offense was huge, but also just Denver couldn't get comfortable looks throughout that entire game.
Well, we've talked about Alex Caruso. What do you say we hear from the man himself? Our guy Nick Gallo caught up with AC after the game. Let's listen in.
Swarming, tenacious defense that's been a hallmark of this team all year. You had to defend Jokic and disrupt him. What was this game like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's Game 7. There's nothing to leave in the tank, so just trying to make it difficult for him. Just trying to be there for my guys and really raise my level of compete so they could see that, and I think they did a great job of matching it.
13 dunks for you guys as a team. You dominated in the paint. Tell me about the way that you all were able to play make and get downhill.
Yeah, it started with our defense. We got stops, got out in transition, and then we just did a good job of finding guys when they were open. You know, making extra pass, trusting each other. When we do that, we're really dangerous.
You guys punched a ticket to the Western Conference Finals. What does this feel like to accomplish this here in this building with your brothers?
Yeah, it feels great. I wasn't ready to be done playing basketball for the year. So fresh life, go again on Tuesday.
Congratulations, AC. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Nick. Appreciate it.
Awesome stuff there from Alex Caruso and, of course, Nick Gallo. This group has so much belief in one another. These guys working so hard all season long, and it earned them the opportunity to play this pivotal Game 7 in their home environment, in front of their home crowd, on rims that they have played on more than any other gym in the NBA. And so this was a great opportunity for Oklahoma City, and they took full advantage of it. I want to key in on a stat that Nick Gallo brought up. 13 dunks in this game. That was a good one there by Nick Gallo. And I think part of it, to Alex's point, was the transition opportunities. But in the first quarter, it just felt like the Thunder was getting behind Denver's zone a lot in that first quarter.
Great call, Paris. How many times did they find Chet Holmgren specifically in the dunker right there? Denver's zone had really created some problems for OKC, but clearly some of the, not just the adjustments, I think some people might look at this as just adjustments, but the Thunder talked a lot about cleaning up some execution that they felt like that they were seeing in film that they needed to just be a little more decisive in, and I think that that's what they unlocked there, about maybe making that pass just a split second earlier than they were, or maybe getting the ball a little bit more downhill than they needed to kind of open those cracks in that Denver zone. And of course, then the ball started going in the basket a little bit more. And we haven't even mentioned him. How about J-Dub tonight in this game?
I know, that was the next guy I was going to talk about.
17 points in that second quarter. And you know, answering the call of what happened in Game 6, a lot of people were frustrated with his performance. He was frustrated with it, but also at the same time, you could see it with the way that he talked about himself after it. Still a complete belief in himself to be able to turn that around, and what a performance tonight he had, Paris.
He said after Game 6, I just missed a lot of the shots that I would normally make. The process was good, the shots were good, the looks were good, they just didn't fall. And that belief that J-Dub had in himself, it showed up big time here in Game 7. Let's also talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because J-Dub had 17 in the second quarter. Shai had 11 in the third quarter, finished with 35. Big time night for him.
I mean, and, I thought kind of just the point of the night was that three that hit the front rim for Shai and then bounced in. It's exactly to your point, Paris, what you just said. Playing in this building, you get those friendly rolls. Maybe it was the fans all blowing
they
it
were
in. I don't know.
all the collective
everybody
work.
yelling together or something. But, that was something Coach Mark talked about coming out of Game 6 is that you said it perfectly, Paris. You work all season to have this type of game and that type of pressure-packed cauldron of a Game 7 in your home building. And who knows how this goes if the Thunder get down 12 in Denver in a Game 7, and that kind of pressure cranks up. So you got the wind at your sails in a game like this on your home floor, and SGA was at the forefront of that. Just his calm, cool composure, the way that he led this team throughout it, got big buckets when they needed it, downhill, decisive. His floor game was great as well throughout it.
I can't get over the focus level that we saw from this Thunder team today. And in such a the stakes are as high as it gets in a Game 7, and it would be really easy to get really focused on that and kind of lose focus, maybe get away from what got you to this point. And the Thunder, a young Thunder team with a collective 3 games of Game 7 experience, came out with a championship level focus today.
That's a great call. And, again, because it did not start well,
Good point.
And so to me, that I think to your point, Paris, that type of focus, not wavering and not like panicking over that, and being able to get kind of back into their process of offense, because even without the great start, it felt like the shots were pretty good. They just weren't going in. They were short on a few of them. I don't think any player would deny that they were probably a little bit tense and a little bit tight in this game. And to have to kind of play their way through it, a lot of people talk about that. It's like you kind of got to get hit in the mouth, kind of start feeling the game out, and then it starts to be basketball all at that point. And that's kind of seems like what happened in this one. Thunder came out maybe a little bit tense, a little bit tight, and then they settled into the game, and then they started playing their basketball.
And their basketball, well, it starts on the defensive end of the floor, because even though the offense wasn't necessarily there in the first going of this one, what started to turn that game around was Oklahoma City stacking those stops. Let's not forget, this is the #1 defense in the NBA all season long. And when in doubt, you can always count on OKC's defense. That's what turned this game around.
Again, the points off turnovers, jarring.
Yeah.
And the way that OKC, that's how they build these runs that just absolutely electrify the building and just completely suffocate the other team. But to your point, Paris, a lot of it was really what they did in terms of just Denver could not execute. They couldn't get comfortable. They couldn't get looks. Michael Porter Jr. never got loose. Jamal Murray never got loose. Nikola Jokic, again, only 9 shot attempts. Did most of his damage from the free throw line. So incredible defensive performance.
Awesome stuff from the Thunder. We're going to keep talking about it, but before we do that, let's get you over to the press room so you can hear from Thunder head coach Mark Dagnall at the presser.
Now than we were at the beginning of the series, and it's because of them. They pushed us to the limit, and we just have such respect for all the guys in that locker room and their staff and their organization. I just wanted to hit that off the top.
Mark, the swarming, compounding nature of your defense to be disruptive has been kind of a major storyline all season. Would it seem like to you to be able to summon that and have it be such a factor here today?
Yeah, I thought our pressure today was a difference maker in the game, and we accessed that at different times in the series, but today we did it most consistently for the 48 minutes, and we didn't even play a perfect game on offense, but it was just such a catalyst for us. The pressure, the deflections, the turnovers, and even when they got shots, I thought the pressure and the help really disrupted the rhythm of those shots, and the guys just did a great job of sifting through all the noise of a Game 7 and just focusing on what we need to do to win, and we really executed it.
Mark, we talked yesterday just about, being this late in the series, not having many tricks left, and it coming mostly down to execution. But I don't remember, AC defending Jokic one-on-one as much as he did in any of the games of the series as he did today. Just what sort of led you to stick with that, today, and what you hope to see from it?
Well, the volume of it today was a result of how effective it was. But looking at it was a priority going into today, and he did an unbelievable job, individually. And then, if you're putting a 6'5" guard on a player like that, you need relentless help and relentless pressure on the entry passes, and it all works together. So he had an amazing effort individually, but that truly, when you're going to expose yourself like that, truly is a team defense to make that effective, and the guys, execute the hell out of that.
I couldn't make out what you were saying when that last group checked out right before AJ and those guys, but you put your finger in their chest, and one by one they kind of went to the bench.
Yeah, just acknowledging those guys. I thought they just gave a great effort. They're so easy to bet on. We're not perfect, but they're just so easy to bet on. They're great competitors. They do things the right way. They're professional. They're inside the team. Guys sacrifice. Everybody sacrifices for the team, and you want them to get these sorts of things because they deserve them, and not everybody always gets what they deserve, but this team deserves these types of opportunities, and I was just really happy for those guys.
8-man rotation for the majority of the night. You guys used quick rest for guys. Was that the plan, and then how much did that help you guys in this situation?
It really wasn't the plan. Jay Will and Isaiah Joe were live. There were situations I would have gone to them. I think the effectiveness of what we were doing was the reason why I drifted away from that and cut it to 8. You play every other day in the playoffs. We have a lot of good players that we believe in, and so we're going to need the depth of the team. But obviously, in a Game 7, you got to empty the tank, and that's what we did. But those guys done a great job of staying ready. We're going to need everybody as we move forward here against Minnesota.
With that, not many rotations, but guys were giving their all. 15 offensive rebounds tonight, diving on the floor, a lot of deflections. What do you think about the effort despite not having much rest tonight?
It was our best energy game and activity game. They drummed it up, for Game 7, and I just give them a lot of credit. Game 7s are there's not many games you wake up in the morning and that you're going to remember the game for the rest of your life, and Game 7's one of them. And to be able to focus through. It's really a distraction, it distracts you from the fact that it's still a basketball game. To be able to focus through that and perform the way these guys did today was very impressive.
Case and Wallace and Caruso both kind of came in late in the first quarter, kind of got you going into the second quarter. Did you know that they would give you that kind of boost, or is it just a normal rotation to get those guys in?
It's normal, but they've made such a habit of that it's to this point, it's surprising when they don't. It's the pressure, the intensity, the competitiveness, and their team guys. They go in there. Denver played a lot of zone in this series. Those guys move the ball. They get into gaps. They're looking to activate their teammates, which is critical against man or zone, but certainly against zone. And so they've done that all season, but they were incredible today.
Your points off turnovers the last couple of games have been either even. I think they were even last game, and you only won by 3. And that's always been a big deal for you. Today it was back to, you have 37-7 back in your favor.
Yeah, 7 games is a long time. You're not going to play optimal basketball over the course of 7 games. It's hard to hold that level when the opponent is doing everything they can to make you completely uncomfortable. And I just thought, this wasn't our cleanest series. I didn't think we played our best. But I do think this series really tested our resolve. We went down 1-0. We went down 2-1. After those 3 games, we had led 123 minutes to their 17, and we were down 2-1 at that point. And it's hard mentally to get yourself to 0 and go win Game 4, win Game 5, and then same thing today. We're tied 3-3. We had doubled up the amount of minutes that we had led in the series, and yet we were tied 3-3. And these guys just keep coming. It's really incredible fortitude, and I thought it really showed the character of the team and the character of the guys. And we're going to need that resolve, as we move forward here.
Mark, you talked about the noise of a Game 7, and obviously you've got a couple guys that had experienced a Game 7, but with a bunch that largely hadn't. What'd you like most about just the way that they handled just the difference that a Game 7 is?
Just that we were who we are. That's the biggest thing. That's enough with this team. If we just bet on who we are individually and collectively, we're a really hard team to beat. And I just thought we stayed in character. We got off to a rough start. We didn't panic. We just played the 48, and we tapped into who we are. And that's the thing that I'm most satisfied with. Is I would hate to play a Game 7 like this, an elimination game, and leave anything on the table. You can live with the result and when you are who you are, and that's what we did today.
Jada really bounced back in the scoring department today. What did you see from him?
Great force. especially early. It was definitely a conscious effort by him to use his speed and his power. And, he was on the gas from the jump tonight. He was incredible. And, you talk about bouncing back. It's like no player in the playoffs in this competitive a series plays great every night. Like Jokic is as good as anybody, obviously. He didn't play great every night in the series. It's hard, and Dub, I think because he's in his third year, takes a little bit more flack for that. But, it's hard to perform in a playoff game, in a 7-game series this competitive every night. But he rises up every time. He did it last year in the Dallas series. Game 6 was his best game after some struggles, and tonight was his best game after some struggles as well.
Concerning Dub, I think he had 12 points in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the second quarter. You were playing pretty well at that point, but that really put the game way ahead. How important was that stretch? The last 3 minutes of the half.
Yeah, it was a critical stretch. I thought the stretch that won us the game was when we went down early. They were making some shots. We were missing some shots. We seemed a little frantic. We seemed like we were just, tiptoeing into the game a little bit from a confidence standpoint. And I thought the maturity of the team to understand the length of the game, it's just like, let's settle into this thing, was a huge thing. Because, we went down 11 or whatever, and if that balloons to 20, it becomes a very hard game to manage from that point. So I just thought that was the stretch that won it for us, but the separation stretch was that in the second quarter.
Hi, if I can ask 2 questions. One, just what did you make of David Adelman coaching against him in this series? And it was a lot of adjustments on both sides, and he's obviously doing this on an interim basis. Yeah,
I just told him on the court how much respect I have for him after having competed against him in this series. He's a pretty seasoned guy, to be put in a very, very challenging situation. It's a credit to their players, first and foremost, but a credit to their staff for that type of disruption that late in the season. He was thrust into a very challenging leadership position and handled it very well. And I think what stood out, that wasn't all smooth. They lost some games in the regular season. They lost, they got blown out in one of the games in the Clipper series. They got blown out here in game 2. And that team kept competing and stayed together through all the ups and downs of their experiences, which is, first of all, a testament to their, championship mindset, but also a testament to the relationships that he must have built over a long time with those guys. Like, they really, had his back. And so I was just very, very impressed with him from a distance. I don't know him at all, but I have the utmost respect after having competed against him.
Just a quick follow, totally different subject, but you were with the Blue the last time the Thunder was in the Western Conference Finals. Did you get to be around the team that much during that run? And if so, what did you learn about what comes next here?
Yeah, I was this guy. I was. It's hard to keep a straight face with that guy. I was around the team. This has always been an organization that's had great synergy with those entry-level spots. A lot of the people that work here now went through the Blue, and all of our Blue staff's here now. So, but to start over, basically, huge shout out to Sam, for his vision for this, to start over and to get back to this type of level. Is incredibly impressive. It's an organizational accomplishment. There's a lot of invisible people behind the scenes that are part of that, and I just want to make sure I acknowledge them. Obviously, we have more opportunities in front of us, but this is a great accomplishment for a lot of people that have been here a long time.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
We got players coming in next, as you all saw.
All right, great stuff there from Thunder head coach Mark Dagnall. And you'll notice we are now joined by a familiar face. It is Steve McGeehee from News 9. And Steve, one of the biggest takeaways I think I took away from Coach Dagnall's presser was that the pressure defensively from the Thunder was the difference maker in this game. What did you see from their defense today?
Well, I listened to David Adelman, his speech about 5 minutes ago, and he said, great start for the Nuggets, up 21-10, and then defense from Oklahoma City was relentless. They got stuck on 21. They kept in bringing new waves of players, and that really was a difference. And I think Oklahoma City ended up with 16 steals in the game, and he said, you're not going to win playoff basketball if you give up 16 steals. But he was very impressed all series long with the way Oklahoma City was able to go big or go small. And today it was a little bit of both, and just relentless defense from Kaysen. And Alex Caruso, I thought, was the MVP of this game today. He did such a great job on Joker that it made it extremely hard for him, and he really kind of when he came in, it kind of kick-started this comeback.
Yeah, great stuff from Alex Caruso. And Steve, we're going to pause. We'll be right back with you because Shea and J-Dub are at the podium right now.
I was nervous, to be honest, just knowing like what's on the line. We've worked so hard the whole 82-game season. We've all worked so hard in the summer, and to know like if you don't bring your A game, it could all be over with, and all for nothing. And but I think that nervousness like motivated me and helped me play today. Like helped me give my all on both ends of the floor, and I used it to my advantage.
What we got? Go ahead, Joel.
Shay, you just mentioned the feelings leading into this game, the season being on the line, but this is the first Western Conference Finals berth for the team, I think, in 9 years. Could you sense in these past few days and just throughout this game after the win, just sort of what a win like this means to the building, to the city, to the franchise?
Yeah, it means a lot, specifically for the city. They've been so good all year. They've been behind us through good, through bad. Like it feels like no team in the league has home court advantage like we do, and that's all due to them with the T-shirts, the cheering, the screaming, the chants. They really give us like energy out there, and we've been a better team because of them and having them behind us. And to know that if we didn't bring it tonight, it could be over for them as well. It wasn't fair, and we wanted to play for them as well.
And Mark was just in here saying that it felt like you guys tiptoed into the game from a confidence standpoint. When did you sort of sense the game break open and that you guys really sort of leaned into the game?
Yeah, I think like the nerves was natural. We obviously didn't shoot. We actually shot horrible to start the game. But I knew like we were getting really good looks, and if we just stuck with it, that like we would loosen up in the ball and find the basket. And it did so. I never was worried by the way we started. We had the right intentions. We had to tighten a little bit up on the defensive end, but once I felt the flow of the game and we had the right intentions and the right energy, I knew it would turn around for us.
Dub, it seemed like the series was a battle all series long about who could score in the paint better, who could carve up the other team's defense. You guys had 64 points in the paint today. Did you feel like that was a product of better execution against their zone, or playing off defense? What did you feel out there?
Kind of to Tu's point, just we had a very good progression just throughout the series of like getting shots that we wanted. Sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't, but I think defensively we were really good, and we were able to get out in transition, and that's given us layups, and I think that's where a lot of the points in the paint come from. And then that gives you flow, obviously, going into half court offense. And I think that's kind of where we got our confidence from, and just trusting each other, trusting our process.
For Shea and Dub, during the offseason, you guys bring in AC, and obviously he bought into the culture of this team defensively. But to see him have that kind of impact in the Game 7, can you speak to that?
Yeah, he's a player who rises to the occasion. He's a player that understands the moment and like controls what he can control, and he does that at a very high level. Like nobody does that at a higher level than him that I've ever played with. Like he is always in the moment. He's always figuring out how to change the game and better the team. And it doesn't matter if it's a Tuesday in February in New Orleans or if it's a Game 7 tonight. Like he's giving his 100% attention, energy. And I think that's what's made him the NBA player he's become. And to have a guy like that on your team, it's special. It raises the level of everybody else when you see him just leading like that in that example. He's obviously a big reason why we're as good as we are as a basketball team.
Dub, did you really not sleep at all?
I mean, I slept a little bit, but yeah. I was just excited to play. Like you never know how many Game 7s you're gonna get, and it's like an opportunity to be great. So I was just more excited about playing and getting the opportunity to. What was that?
It's tripping. I think it's.
Oh, I thought it was my.
There's been
something.
some leaks in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like
leaks. Yeah. Yeah, but I think I was probably just like hyped up to play and excited. That's really it. Those nights it's hard to like kind of like go to sleep.
And Shea asked you after Game 6 kind of how you thought Dub would respond tonight. How did you think he played?
Terrible. Nah, he was amazing. Dub was a big reason for our little stretch of the lead in the second quarter. Gave us momentum. But I said this out there after the game, his growth as a basketball player has been obviously, you've seen it all year, but his growth mentally has been more impressive to me. He wouldn't have played the way he played today last year, and I know that 100%. And to see him take that step forward is it's a really proud moment for me. Just knowing what he goes through on a day-to-day basis, knowing where he comes from, that's really my brother. And to see him get better in those areas is special. It's fun, and it makes this whole experience a little bit more special. But yeah, Dub. Other than that, Dub's a great basketball player, and he brought his A game when we needed the most, and that's what makes you the top of upper epsilon of this league, and the sky's the limit for Dub, as we all know.
Hope you guys can comment on just the points off turnovers return. The last couple of games, you really hadn't had that big advantage, but tonight, it's kind of like a feeding frenzy. Got a lot of easy buckets tonight.
Yeah, that's when we're at our best. Starts defensively, and then we're able to play in space with the athletes and the speed that we have. But it starts defensively, and once we brought that tonight, we were able to stretch the lead up.
You want me to answer that too? Oh, yeah. Just that's how we play. I think I've said this earlier this year too, just on different things. Our defense is not predicated on us stealing the ball. You know what I mean? But it's just more about the approach that we have, how competitive and how right we can be, and how many rotations we can make. You know what I mean? We're trying to be as aggressive as possible and cover up for each other. And then if that results in a turnover, great. But we're just trying to contest every shot, rebound every time, and you just kind of stack within our defensive possessions, and then that's what makes us good.
This is a question for both you guys. Obviously, a lot of excitement, nerves going into this game. What did you draw on anything? Did you reach out to anyone? Did anybody give you advice on how to approach a game like this?
No, I turned my phone off, honestly.
Okay.
I just wanted to, as best as I could, block out all the noise. Just enjoy the time. We had 2 days off for the first time in a little bit. Enjoy the time with my family. I knew this moment was coming, and the nerves sat in my stomach for the 2 days. But I tried to just think about it as least possible as I could. And I think I did a pretty good job handling that. Came out ready to play today.
When you say turn it off, you mean do not disturb, and maybe your mom can get through, or
Yeah, no social media, basically, and then if you have my number, you can have my number and text me. So yeah.
Jalen, I don't know if you can take the 20,000-foot view this close to the end of a Game 7, but just what you guys have come through to now get to this point to go to the finals, what are you proudest of just with where you guys are in this moment?
I think exactly that. We are where our feet are. Being present in the moment, not letting too many outside stuff control what we're doing in the game. And I think that was most impressive to everybody. No matter what was going on, we stuck together. And we were just kind of uncommon in that way. We even had team dinner after a loss. I think that just shows how connected we've been, and we've been doing that the whole time. So we're just with each other regardless of what happens. I think that's what makes us a good team.
Shea, as you think.
All right, with us now on Thunder Playoff Postgame, we are now joined by Lou Dort. And Lou, we were just talking about the defensive energy in this game. You guys outscored them 37-7 in points off turnovers. What went into the defensive execution today?
Just had to compete a little harder, bring the physicality that we brought the whole season on the do or die game like this. We know that every time we play like that, we had our best, and it started from the start, and we did a great job of that.
Lou, we were just talking about you and Shea, I think, are the only two guys really with actual Game 7 experience. It was different because it was in the Disney bubble. Yeah. So this was almost kind of in a way for your first, I don't want to say real Game 7, but, the atmosphere here, the intensity of it. What was it like for you guys?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was way different from my first year, let's say that. Our crowd, the energy that was in this building today was was really crazy, and then that's a game that I'll remember all my life for sure.
Coach Dagnall gave you guys a lot of credit for the focus that you guys had in this game today. Obviously, not a ton of Game 7 experience among this group, but what was the mentality like in this locker room coming into this game?
Compete. I mean, we know that we've been one of the best team in the season for a long time. So we just have to play our best, play our game, and stick to what we always do. And then, you know, the physicality that we brought from the beginning was amazing.
Lou, I wanted to ask you just the kind of the journey that goes on throughout a playoff series. I mean, I think a lot of fans in this building, this Game 7 was amazing, but they're going to remember Game 5 just as much and your impact in that Game 5. And we don't get here today without that Game 5, but all the chapters that go on with the disappointment in Game 1 and what happens in responding in Game 4. What's it like to go through it as a player?
It's ups and downs. You guys just got to stay in it. You know, I got my coaches, my teammates hyping me up and stuff and keeping my confidence up. But I know I'm a good player. I know I can do a lot of stuff for my teammates. Since whenever it's time, you know, I got to be ready.
Well, you had the task, obviously, of trying to limit Jamal Murray throughout the entirety of this series. Just what goes into a matchup like that, and just trying to limit him as much as possible.
Yeah, he's a tough player, tough coverage. I've been saying that for a long time. You know, I spent a lot of time with him during the summertime with the national team, but just had to compete and make everything tough for him. I mean, he's been in those type of games before. He knows what to do, so just had to compete and make everything tough.
Lou, I wanted to just ask you just about a couple of your teammates too, SGA and Dub. We were just hearing from them, big games they had. You know, Dub kind of bouncing back from his Game 6, SGA kind of throwing the hammer down here tonight. What'd you see from those two guys?
Real leaders, honestly. Shea's been in that position before when we lost Game 7 a couple years ago. Now he's back at it again. He showed why he's the best player on the planet right now. And then Dub just bouncing back, staying in it. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries and stuff like that, but he's still sacrificing his body for us, and he came out today and had a great game.
All right, Lou, next up for you guys, Western Conference Finals. First of all, how does that sound? And then what's the mentality heading into that next series?
It sounds great. We deserve that. We deserve to have home court advantage, and you know, we'll be ready in, when is it, two days?
Yeah,
in
quick
2 days.
Quick turnaround.
Quick turnaround, but now we'll be ready. We'll regroup tomorrow. We'll watch film and get ready for the next series.
Yeah, Lou, I just wanted to finish on it. You know, that recovery process. You guys are familiar with the Timberwolves, divisional opponent, but you know, what kind of, you know, the transition of going from this series to that series, what's that going to be like in dealing with a team like the Wolves?
Really got to turn the page. I mean, they play a different style of basketball than Denver. Like I said, we got to regroup, watch film, watch some of the games that we had against them this season, and be ready for Tuesday.
Well, Lou, congratulations on an incredible series and this win today. Heading on to the Western Conference Finals. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We got more coming for you after this break. Still breaking down this series as the Thunder defeats the Denver Nuggets here today.
Air Comfort Solutions has always stood for cooling, heating, plumbing, and electrical services you can count on. Assuring comfort since 2004, our Oklahoma Strong team stands for accuracy, confidence, and support where and when homes need us most. Today, with our refreshed look and our expanded services, ACS stands for achieving 100% customer satisfaction as we stand tall and do it all for OKC Homes. Like a $69 AC tune-up to keep your home comfortable year-round. For whatever your home needs, don't stress. Call ACS.
Experience the sweet, vibrant flavors of Mexico in every spoonful of Brahms' new fancy sundaes. Enjoy a cascade of fresh fruits on Brahms' Tarta de Fresa Crema Sundae. Indulge in creamy cinnamon-kissed ice cream with silky caramel on the Chongo Zamorano Sundae. Dive into strawberry paradise with Brahms' Fresas con Crema Sundae and savor each caramel-filled bite of Brahms Sopapilla Cheesecake Sundae. Authentic flavors, bold traditions, and irresistible sweetness in every scoop only at Brahms.
Big wins are blooming across Riverwind Casino, and the jackpots have never been sweeter.
Go all in on your favorite table games.
Hedge your bets on the biggest wins and unbeatable entertainment.
Use your wild card for the best perks and the top rewards. And play for your share of the $100,000 Lucky May Days giveaway. Win with the best.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
Back inside of Paycom Center for Thunder playoff postgame. The Thunder get this series against the Denver Nuggets here in Game 7, defeating the Nuggets here today, 125-93. And now Oklahoma City advancing to the Western Conference Finals against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So let's take a look at the calendar upcoming. As we mentioned with Lou Dort, it's going to be a bit of a quick turnaround. We're talking 48 hours. That first game here inside of Paycom Center, that is going to be on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. You can catch it on ESPN. And then Game 2 is going to be Thursday at 7:30 on ESPN as well. And just a reminder, a limited number of Western Conference Finals tickets go on sale Monday, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Go to okcthunder.com/tickets. Make sure you get them. You're going to want to be in this building because if Game 1 and Game 2 were anything like the atmosphere we had here in Game 7 today, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, thinking of this, the way that this postseason's kind of gone for the Thunder, it's been all about like the rest and the time off between series.
Yep.
Now it's a new thing. Now the quick turnaround and transitioning from one team to the other. And, you know, obviously coming off this Game 7, feels like some pretty good momentum, Paris, to build on. And, you know, I feel like there are going to be some pretty good vibes walking off this floor and then walking back onto it for a Game 1. Again, the benefit of having Games 1 and 2, you don't have to get on an airplane now tomorrow afternoon to head to Minneapolis for Game 1. You get to sleep in your own bed and be comfortable and sleep in it again and have Game 1 here in this building again.
You know, the Thunder, and after talking to Lou Dort, it's really interesting because you can't take a ton away from this series against the Denver Nuggets in terms of, you know, carryover into a series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, but the execution, the defensive pressure, all of that stuff, I feel like that translates regardless of who you're playing.
No question about it. I mean, the identity of the team is still going to be a consistent staple. Look, some of the scheming, some of the adjustments, some of the matchups, those things will kind of, you know, those will evolve as the series goes along, as we saw throughout this series. I don't think a lot of people necessarily, you know, it's funny to think back of like people discussing the Thunder Nuggets matchup and it's like, all right, is Chet going to be on Jokic, or are they going to do Hartenstein on Jokic? Oh, now Jay Will's on Jokic. That was something new. I don't think a lot of people had it in their cards that actually it was Alex Caruso in the Game 7 that was going to spin
twist
primarily. So things change. A lot of the challenge for every single team is to improve throughout the series, learn things about yourself, learn things about your opponent. And this series, even though it's a quick turnaround, will be no different with the Wolves.
Yeah, and the Thunder have a great opportunity to just get some rest for the short rest that you can get and then get back on this floor to start that series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I want to talk a little bit more about what we saw from the Denver Nuggets in this series because this was such a good series.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was nerve-wracking. I know all the Thunder fans were just toe-tapping throughout this entire series, but you have to give it up to the Nuggets for the punch that they threw after coming off another 7-game series right before this.
Yeah, you know, look, everybody would have wanted it to have gone like Games 2 and 7, where it just kind of felt like the Thunder looked like the Thunder, and it was that's not how playoff basketball ever works. This might be news to everybody, but the other team wants to win really, really bad too. So,
yes, they do.
You know, I think that as this series kind of went along, what we saw is, again, just sort of the pride of the Nuggets, the heart of a champion. Again, Jokic and Murray, just unbelievable competitors. Aaron Gordon, again, credit to him for gutting this out the way that he did. And just one of the big things about a playoff series too that you want is the opportunity to play against the best, because that's how you yourself can get better. And the Thunder walk out of this series against the Nuggets a better team now than they were when they started.
I mean, speaking of that, Royce, what are the areas you felt like you've seen Oklahoma City grow throughout this series? Because we heard it from Coach Dagnall. It's a great point. Oklahoma City is using these experiences to get better.
You know, I don't know if I'm coming up with this, you know, on my own, but it almost feels like there's an in-game 0-0 ability now with this team. Like, you know, sometimes Coach Mark talked about it kind of resetting the baseline after the disappointment in Game 1. Well, it felt like this team had to really find some resiliency and some gut check moments throughout this series, especially in Game 4. What we saw in Game 5, being down in those fourth quarters, again, the slow start in this one, to be able to bounce back from that to me, that kind of mental fortitude was really sharpened for this young team, because, again, that wasn't something that they experienced a ton. And, again, on top of that, the late game execution, that's what won this series for the Thunder at the end of the day. That wasn't, again, something that they had to deal with as much in the regular season with how dominant they were.
Growing through every experience and doing so on the highest stage of basketball for such a young team, so incredibly impressive. And that is why they are headed off to the Western Conference Finals. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We've got more coming for you after this, breaking down this series against the Nuggets.
Big car payments? That's no fun. Even if you love your car or truck, the wrong vehicle loan can leave you wondering where your money goes and if your payment could have been lower. So if you're paying more than you should on your car loan every month, give a little love to your budget and contact Communication Federal Credit Union. There's no cost to find out if we can help. Plus, all new vehicle loans and refinances get the first 90 days with no payment. Love your car and your loan payment with Communication Federal.
Let Love's be your partner on your summer RV trip. Fuel up, grab a bite to eat, and stay the night at one of our 90 RV stops. Reserve an RV spot overnight and turn on amenities from your phone. With over 420 dog parks, we've even got your furry family members covered. We're the perfect pit stop for your next road trip. Love's, the heart of the highway.
With OG&E Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. If you're a busy bee, go with Smart Hours Daily, where daily price alerts let you maximize savings. Or how about Smart Hours Fixed? Just set it and forget it. Night owl? Choose Smart Hours overnight. No matter which you choose, with Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. When you reduce your energy use between 2 and 7 p.m. this summer, you help the grid, the environment, and your wallet. But you have to sign up to save. So sign up now at oge.com/smarthours.
Welcome back to downtown Oklahoma City and Paycom Center. This was the site for the electric Game 7 between the Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. OKC walking away with a 125-93 victory, and they now advance to the Western Conference Finals. Such an incredible atmosphere inside of this building. Official 2025 playoffs merch is now available. Gear up and get loud for your Thunder with the latest threads at the official Thunder shop or online at okcthunder.com/shop. As we welcome you back inside of Paycom Center, Steve McGee, he is back with us now. And Steve, I think when we left off, you were talking a little bit about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub and the night that they had. Can you tell us a little bit more?
You wanted those two all-stars to shine in Game 7 on the home floor. You know, this was all new for J-Dub. You know, Shai's been in the Game 7 before in the bubble game against the Houston Rockets. But, you know, those two combined for 59 points and only one turnover, over one turnover. So Dub didn't have the game he wanted shooting-wise in Game 6. He had kind of the feeling he'll get it back, and he sure did today in a meaningful game. And this is the type of game this team needed to play in and obviously win in. A Game 7 situation, there was so much talk about this team is young. They may not have the playoff experience. This moment may be too big for them, and they shined.
You know, Steve, that's what we were just talking about, too, is just areas in which this team got better during this series. And you mentioned it just in terms of the resiliency and just kind of finding kind of their voice as a young team. But also, we were talking about the late game execution. Obviously, this game here in Game 7 didn't necessarily require as much of it, but they wouldn't have been here without some of the areas that they improved in late game execution.
Yeah, and it really helped what they did in the offseason with the Caruso. Caruso was a big factor in this series, and Hartenstein with his height, they needed more rebounding to help out Chet. And Chet, I thought today was very aggressive.
Yeah.
You could see it in his face that he was not going to be flat-footed at the rim. He was going to go up there and get the ball, get the rebound. And you guys said how many dunks this team had?
13.
13. I lost track after 6, and I knew it was a whole bunch, but 13 dunks is a lot, and 22 turnovers for Denver. Credit that Oklahoma City Thunder defense.
You mentioned all the talk about, you know, this Thunder team hasn't been through a ton of Game 7s. The experience isn't quite there. But what we saw today was a championship-level focus. What did you make of the attitude that this young Thunder team came out of this game with?
Maybe a few nerves there in that opening moments. You know, the shots weren't going in, but as Shai said, hey, we had good looks. Eventually they were going to go in, and they did. But really, it changed there, 21-10. And then as David Adelman said, it went sideways for them right after that. And Oklahoma City hit the go button, and it was pretty much over after that. And then Oklahoma City, you thought maybe Denver would throw a punch there at the start of the third quarter, but I think Oklahoma City scored the first 9 points in the third quarter, and it kind of slammed the door on them.
You know, unlike the other two series where the Thunder got ample time off, now they got to turn the page quickly and get ready for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, much different opponent, different schemes, different scouting, different matchups. What's your early take on that matchup, Steve?
Minnesota, long and athletic. I believe they have a win over the Thunder when Gobert and Julius Randle did not play in the game, but I think it was the game right before the All-Star break up in Minnesota.
Yep.
So
Great memory, Steve.
So I don't know if that counts because guys are thinking about the All-Star game in where was it at? San Francisco?
All-Star, yeah, San Francisco.
They're going to San Francisco or they're going to Cancun. It was a long season. That was 2 seasons ago. But I think it's going to be a challenging series for the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to be a challenging series for Minnesota. No Joker to deal with. Gobert's a good quality center, but he's not Joker. Anthony Edwards, of course, it's going to be Anthony Edwards versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But McDaniels, and who else am I missing from Minnesota? Oh, Naz Reid. Those are the 2 guys you got to watch out for against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
We were just talking about the fact that the Thunder, they've got home court advantage at the start of this series. Maybe carry over a little of that awesome momentum we felt in this building. Steve, you have been in so many of these games here inside of this building. I imagine this energy in this building today had to rank pretty high.
I would say I was here during the Durant Westbrook era as well, and I think we're above that now.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we're above that, especially when the fans stand up and they stay up. They're not sitting down. They're staying up almost to the finish. So I think we have peaked the old Chesapeake, and this place was popping today.
Yeah, Steve, I think I got to agree with you on that. I mean, that second quarter noise pop was about as up there as it gets. So as we kind of put a pin on this series too, as we think about some of these young Thunder players and the experience that they've gained from it, we saw different players step up. Aaron Wiggins and Queso in the game 4. As you transition into a series with the Wolves, you think about the depth of the team. How important do you think that might factor in as well as you just kind of explore the matchups and everything that happens for this group?
You got a feeling Mark is going to explore, especially in game number 1, to see how deep he can go in this and see what it looks like against a different team. I'm sure he's glad to be facing somebody else. At this point, this series lasted 13 days. It felt like 130 days. So he's ready to see something else. They're familiar with Minnesota. Of course, Minnesota's familiar with us. But Mark's going to, maybe a little bit more A.J. Mitchell, maybe some Isaiah Joe. We'll see. Mark's, he's not afraid to tinker with lineups, especially in game number 1.
All this means is more Steve McGehee as this postseason goes along. That's what we were all hoping for. Steve, thanks so much for joining us.
Take care.
All right. We got more coming for you here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this break.
My doctor is my hero.
My doctor makes me happy, makes me feel safe.
It helps me get strong.
We're just so grateful that we don't have to travel out of state.
Oklahoma Children's Hospital cares for my child like their own, gives us hope,
and has our trust.
Leadership starts at home. That's why Ford is from America, for America. And with a lineup of our most popular Ford trucks and SUVs, we're for Oklahoma, too. Including F-150, Bronco, and Expedition. That's our leadership lineup. Right now, get employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Ford, from America, for America. At your best in Oklahoma Ford dealers. Proud truck partner of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Hey, have you heard what's happening at Mathis Home? The Monumental Savings Event is happening right now. Save big on our newest arrivals. We have hundreds of sofas with styles you love at unbeatable prices. Like this one. At just $5.99, you can enjoy this contemporary sofa by Ashley, complete with 5 accent pillows. Just one of over 100 great sofas in stock and ready for you to enjoy tonight with fast and free delivery. So don't miss out on the Monumental Savings Event happening at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Anything else? No. Welcome back inside of Paycom Center for Thunder Playoff Postgame. What an electric Game 7 we had inside of this building. The Thunder defeating the Denver Nuggets in this series and heading on to the Western Conference Finals. And they're going to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that sets up an interesting matchup. We've talked a little bit about it, Royce. Not a lot of similarities between the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So this is going to be a completely different game plan for Oklahoma City. What do you anticipate?
A much more perimeter-oriented team. Obviously they do have size inside with Julius Randle, who has played great this postseason, by the way. Really has kind of been a point forward in a lot of ways for the Wolves, ball in his hands a lot, creating a lot of their offense. Obviously, Rudy Gobert, multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. But again, a much different look. They're not going to be running their offense through their center quite as much. Right. So they will combine different types of lineups. And then, of course, Anthony Edwards, one of the best pure scorers in the NBA, high-volume scorer, high-volume shooter. He's somebody that you can kind of push into some inefficiency at different times. Obviously, the Thunder Thunder have a lot of different wing defenders to throw at them. But one of the things as the Thunder have been familiar with the Wolves, their length and size does show up on the wings. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, a lot of those different types of players. Naz Reid, who is kind of a combo forward center, does a lot of different things, really great from the perimeter. So a lot of different looks, a lot of different challenges for the Thunder to tap into.
With that in mind, what do you anticipate being top of mind for Oklahoma City to try to crack that Minnesota defense with all of that length and all that athleticism?
Yeah, that'll be interesting, Paris, is to see what kind of, Chris Finch is a very creative coach as well. And, Minnesota's not necessarily a team that's known for zone, but teams have seen the Thunder a lot, and they have so much difficulty slowing down, specifically SGA and Dub, that they go to that zone to try to wall off the paint a lot more. So it'll be interesting to see that kind of chess match. Are they leaning into that a little bit more? But, Minnesota's the type of team that really tries to lean into matchups. And so that'll be something interesting to watch of who are they putting on who are they going to try to put Rudy Gobert on? Are they going to try to cross match any? And the Thunder can really obviously, again, so many different curveballs that Coach Mark can throw at Chris Finch. So that'll be a really fun element of this series is the coaching matchup and how these guys really kind of attack the chess pieces on the board.
I love that you brought that up because to take that analogy even further, I mean, the Thunder has so many pitches that they can throw, and we saw a lot of them in this series. I mean, obviously 7 games worth of pitches for Oklahoma City, but Denver, they threw a lot of zone at OKC. So we saw a lot of the chess pieces moving on the board for the Thunder, trying to make sure that they're able to generate high-quality looks offensively, despite the fact that Denver was throwing that zone their way. So it'll be interesting to see what the Thunder has to do to try to crack that Minnesota defense. But how about the other end of the floor, Royce? Limiting a guy like Anthony Edwards, who is obviously such an electric and explosive player.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those types of players that so often if you're Lou Dort, if you're Cason Wallace or Alex Cruz or whoever's on him, you're going to have to do it multiple times in the game where you just say, that was a great shot, sir.
Tip your hat.
I played great defense on you, and you made it in my face.
Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards is exactly that kind of player, incredible athlete, so explosive at the rim, somebody that tries to elevate and dunk on people all the time. I'm already excited to think about Chet Holmgren and him meeting each other midair at the summit. Anthony Edwards trying to dunk there. That's going to be fun to watch. But Anthony Edwards is one area of his game, Paris, that he's really grown and he took on a challenge was to become a better passer from the middle of the floor, to be able to spread to the corners a lot more. And that's been a big part of Minnesota's offense is Anthony Edwards growing in that way. Sometimes he's a guy that can get a little bit of tunnel vision because he is a natural-born scorer, but he's really grown in that way. So that'll be something that'll be interesting to watch as well as the Thunder kind of scheme him is, are they trying to play him into the pass more, or are they just going to try to play man-to-man isolation and try to slow him down as a primary scorer?
Well, and the interesting element about this, you brought this up earlier, it's the inverse of what the Thunder experienced after that first round against the Memphis Grizzlies is the Timberwolves. Their series, it ended a few days ago. They've had a couple of days of rest, and now the Thunder are going to have about a 48-hour turnaround before they start this Western Conference Finals against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The good news for Oklahoma City, you do that inside of this building, so you've got some wind in your sails going into that game one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, the Wolves are a team that are known for physicality and the defensive mindset. So, that short turnaround, the Thunder, I think having kind of that extra little boost at their home arena is going to feel pretty good. But, again, that's what you work for all season long is to have that slight advantage. It's hard to gain any kind of competitive advantage, especially this deep into the postseason. You're playing great teams that are playing their best basketball. It's not that these teams are just great, but they're playing their best right now as well. So having that little bit of extra, that home court is a big part of it.
I mean, that's what makes the playoffs so great. That's why this atmosphere inside of this building was so electric and top-notch for a full 48 minutes. And even like some before the game, too. I'm pretty sure they were standing 30 minutes before the game as well. But that wraps us up here inside of Paycom Center, recapping an incredible Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets, the Oklahoma City heading to the Western Conference Finals. What a game inside of Paycom Center. Once again, our final score, 125-93, with the Thunder winning Game 7 against Denver. For Royce Young, I'm Paris Lawson. A reminder to join us for a complete breakdown and reaction following Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals against Minnesota on Tuesday night. Until then, good night from Paycom Center in downtown Oklahoma City.